Welcome back. My name is Aaron Green. I'm the host and founder of the series Strata Property Act BC, and I am a licensed strata manager currently working as a strata manager in BC, Canada. Episode 7, what it's really like to be a strata manager. So this video is going to go over what my daily workload looks like and the lifestyle of a strata manager and what we actually do. So we're not admins. It is a high pressure position. There is a ton of responsibility, and we're going to provide the real job overview. So you have many roles as a strata manager. You're a coordinator of work and projects. You're an advisor to your councils and boards. You enforce bylaws. Once you have a council or approval through council of the board, then you are the one sending the letter regarding the bylaw or violation or rule that has been broken, which makes you the middleman for many different things, and middleman between the council, board, and vendors, owners. Pretty much all communication is going to be funneled through you when it's regarding the council or the board. Your corporation management, so you're going to have multiple properties in your portfolio, and you're going to need to manage their priorities as best as you can. And obviously, as a strata manager, you are licensed to advise on the Strata Property Act. If you get your strata license, that will mean that you will have studied the Strata Property Act and then taken the test to go ahead and get the license. So this is a role where you act as the agent for the council or board and that property or society or corporation, whatever it is. So we're going to go through the day-to-day first. So the day-to-day is emails, phone calls, dealing with contractors and vendors, preparing for meetings and facilitating those meetings, dealing with financials, building budgets, asking questions about the financials, providing information to owners and people like that. And your job is reactive and proactive. So there's a lot of you reacting to emails, phone calls, new requests, and then there's also you thinking about what the property could need in the future, and how to get the council to start planning and facilitating the needs of the building. The workload is generally multiple buildings or corporations. I currently have 11 in my portfolio. 12 is generally the senior number role. I just have a couple that are a little bit out of control right now, so 11 is fine with me at the moment. So it's a high volume of communication when you have that large of a portfolio. There are some after hours, so your after hours are going to be the meetings. It's ideal if you can have council / board meetings during the day. That's the best, but that's not always going to be possible because you do have people that a lot of council members are still working. So sometimes the meetings can be anywhere from 5 to start at 7 o'clock, and they're generally about 2 hours long. So try to keep your meetings on the early side of things. But you're going to have a few councils that need it to be at like 7 o'clock, which is not ideal, but it's part of the job. It doesn't happen often, but it is one of the parts that I don't like or that I like the least. Late meetings are not what I enjoy. And AGM season can come around. For my portfolio, unfortunately, most of my properties have their AGM in anywhere from April to July. I think I have about 6 or 7 that end up having their AGM between that time frame. So it can be a little bit hectic at one point in time. But the nice thing is once that's over, the workload diminishes quite a bit. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you can kind of see it coming after a few years of experience. You start to realize when your busiest times of the year are and when things kind of calm down, and you can take it a little bit easier. So your responsibilities, again, advising council or board members on maintenance, bylaws, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. So you're dealing with large budgets, and the decisions you make and help make obviously matter. And there's accountability. Your councils have errors and emissions insurance, but you may or may not, depending on your company. So you need to make sure that you're doing your best. And if it's above your pay grade, make that known. At the end of the day, we're not lawyers, so we can't really advise on things that are past our understanding of the Strata Property Act, and that's certainly when you can get yourself into trouble. So understand when whatever your council or boards are asking you, understand when that's pretty much legal advice and they need to be consulting legal counsel. And that jumps right into the next section, which is legal. So there's bylaws and then compliance. So the strata bylaws or the rules, that's something that you need to make sure is complied with or enforce those rules or bylaws. And then you also, my top priority as a strata manager, in my opinion, is to ensure compliance with the Strata Property Act and reduce the risk of litigation. Those, to me, are the highest priorities a strata manager should always have. You're supposed to ensure that your strata property and your strata corporation and your council and boards are compliant with the Strata Property Act. That's what you're licensed on, so you should certainly be ensuring that the properties you manage are compliant with that. And then second, obviously, to avoid any risk of litigation where possible, or reduce the risk of litigation whenever and wherever possible. Disputes will come up regardless. Disputes can just be between the council and owners through council hearings, which you will have to facilitate and make sure that you're aware of the Strata Property Act and what's required for those kind of things. And then worst case, if the owner's not happy with that, how that council hearing or how the communication is going, they can go to the CRT, and then it's a long process. And I actually will be making a video about strata disputes and CRT claims separately, so I'll be getting into the real details of that in a later episode. You need to also be very good at recording things. Record keeping is huge, and I've actually built some systems that allow me to do a better job of that through with AI and workflow systems that I've built. If you want to know more about that, you can go to my website. The link will be in the description, and you can learn about the systems I've built and am selling to improve my daily workload and to improve the workload of any high email business. Moving on, and obviously, again, like I mentioned, you need to make sure that everyone's compliant with the Strata Property Act, because that's what you are licensed to do and is what you can actually advise on. As long as that information is clear in the Strata Property Act, then you're good to go. If it's not clear how that matter or issue is restricted or outlined in the Strata Property Act, then you're going to need legal counsel. And again, do not provide legal counsel or legal advice, and understand and do not be afraid to tell your counsels when it's above a strata property or a strata manager's advisement and needs to be legal counsel. For the most part, they'll respect you for that. Some people are not going to want to pay for it, but you need to have it on record that you recommended it, and then also that you're not really willing to provide any further advisement on that matter because the fact that you think it needs to go to legal counsel. If you have that in writing, then you have covered your side, and if counsel wants to proceed with however they want to proceed with it, again, they have errors and omissions insurance, and their insurance can cover it. Unfortunately, the premiums will go up if they do it but that's not your problem. Your job is to protect your license, protect the property, and reduce potential for litigation. Stress can be high. There's high expectations from all ends, from your superiors and from your councils and board members. But again, with the right systems and the right work ethic, you can certainly stay on top of it and end up having a pretty good daily work life. there's constant issues. You're basically just a constant problem solver. So whether or not that's something that sounds exciting to you, that's what it is. You basically, something is reported to you. Now you have to solve it, or you need to deal with it. That's the one side of it. That's the reactive part that I was talking about. There's also the proactive part of it, and we'll get into that at some point in time. There can be some emotional situations, whether that's with your board, council, owners, tenants, vendors, contractors. There can be some times where you're going to want to be able to keep your calm or keep your cool and just professionally operate throughout that matter. At the end of the day, though, you did not come to work to be disrespected, and you can certainly end calls or end meetings if you are being disrespected or being harassed or having to deal with unprofessional conduct in general, honestly. It's very much so people management. Again, you're basically trying to tell the council what to do without telling them what to do. So you're trying to advise them and make sure that they make the right decision. So very much so people management, and then you're also managing vendors to make sure they actually got the email and is actioning the work, and then you're probably having to contact owners for access or providing notices when building or when things are happening to the building or in the building. Lots of people management, communication, things like that. The hard truth is it can be overwhelming. Definitely not for those that get easily overwhelmed or again can lose control during emotional situations. So you're gonna want to be one of those people that's probably looked at as fairly chill or a calm, collected person. That this might be a good role for you if you kind of think of yourself like that. You're going to be dealing with conflict, not all the time, but it arises, and you're going to have to deal with a lot of that. And there can be low appreciation. I do get a decent amount myself from owners and council members and board members, so I feel like it's a decent amount of appreciation, but you can certainly experience a low amount of appreciation, and that can be pretty brutal. But hopefully, you do get those nice emails once a week or every couple of times a month, something like that. For me personally, it actually really helps me keep going and know that for the most part, I'm doing an excellent job. There might be a few times where things could be faster, or maybe I forgot something or missed a request. Again, the amount of emails you're receiving, the workload is immense, so there's going to be a few things that fall through the cracks, but for the most part, I seem to stay on top of it, and I do get a decent amount of appreciation for that. There is a serious potential for burnout. Though again, the workload is high, so you're constantly fighting your inbox to keep it down while also staying on top of all your other priorities as far as building agendas, sending out notices, building AGM notices, bylaw letters, all those different things. Best parts. So there's skill growth. You're learning about so much. You're like I've the amount of information I know about finances now is awesome. Documentation, record keeping, data analysis, communication, and like the way that I write and communicate it continues to evolve and improve, and I like where it's going in a way. Like it's just I would say my highest skill at this point after being in the position that I'm in for 3 years is that my communication level is it just continues to rise almost at an exponential rate. I wouldn't say exponential, but it just keeps building upon itself, that's for sure. A lot of the skills that we're gathering are very high value for a lot of other positions. So if you decide it's not for you forever, do it for 3 to 5 years, and then maybe you can think about something else, or take again the skills that you've built and jump to another industry. Definitely an option. And like I said before, you are a problem solver, so hopefully you enjoy problem solving. At that point, that'll be something that'll be a good part to the job or the career, and the career upside is definitely there. There's potential for upward momentum or just being able to take on more properties, which means you're bringing in more revenue for the company that you're working for, which means they should be paying you more. And that jumps right into the next section, which is pay. The entry pay can be low, so if you're not licensed, then you're definitely going to be on the lower side of things. Probably like 20 to 30 an hour, and something like 50 to 60K a year, if that. Licensed is pretty solid. You're probably going to start at 60 and work your way up decently fast, depending on how well you do and how many properties you can take on in a certain amount of time. And then seniors, pretty strong for sure. You're talking six figures pretty easily once you're into a senior strata management role, and you're taking care of the better, bigger and better properties. Then you're probably looking at a, again, six-figure salary of some sort like that. And it is very much so experience driven. So again, your 5 years to 10 years is probably when you're going to get to that senior point of making that six figures. And more and more experience just makes you better and better at it. And I can certainly say problems and issues get easier and easier to deal with as you gain experience, because eventually it's going to be very rare for you to come across a problem you haven't dealt with already, or dealt with to some degree, some version of that problem you've already gone through. So it'll get easier and easier. There's still going to be a lot of new things to begin with. For instance, I am part of a $500,000 concrete walkway project. Didn't know much about that. Didn't think that was going to be part of strata management, but it is, and we're doing it. And I had to be a large part of why that's happening and why it's pushing forward. So big project and a lot of experience from that. So it is cool. The career path is, you can start in as administrator. In our company, it's called like community coordinator. And then you can become a like junior strata manager, but generally you're gonna have to be licensed. So you go get that license, and then you can just go straight to being a junior licensed strata manager. And then you get the experience, you build your portfolio, and your pay can rise, and then eventually you can be a senior strata manager and consider going for your broker's license, and then at that point you can open your own brokerage if you want, or be the managing broker, which both obviously come with a large compensation increase. You can certainly build into leadership, or you can specialize. I currently specialize. I specialize in resort strata properties. So a lot of my strata properties are strata hotels, which is not really even a thing, but again, for me it is, because it's what I specialize in. So a lot of my properties operate as resort accommodation, but all the units are actually owned by an owner, and those owners as a whole create, or as a whole, they are what creates the strata corporation, or that's what the strata corporation is. It's a group of owners all owning a piece of property within under one under one roof, or under within one property complex, or property or community, something like that. And then it's a lot of consultation, so you're certainly providing advice, and ensuring that everyone is educated on what decisions they're making, what decisions are available to them, and again, what you think the best path forward is, or best decision is to make. So I've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but the skills you're going to be developing and the skills you need to have are great communication skills, both writing and verbal. The big one here, honestly, if you're not a great typer, then that needs to be something that you learn. I am a full 10-finger typer, so I'm using every single one of my fingers, and I'm using the whole your index finger on J and F. And for those that are trained on writing on a keyboard, you know what I mean. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to learn how to write or type properly on a keyboard. It's just going to make your job a whole lot faster and easier. Organization, you need to be incredibly organized, and just continue to build on that organization that you have, and record things, document things, ensure that you're not missing things, create reminders, task lists, things like that to help you stay organized. Big one we've already talked on is the problem solving that's required. You are a problem solver for the most part. So definitely going to have to be a part of your skills, emotional control, like we talked about, and time management. Because one of the big things we didn't talk about is strata managers are generally going to be working remotely for the most part. You might have to do some site visits, and you might have to facilitate some meetings in person. But for the most part, you're going to be working remotely. I work from home in my home office that I'm currently in. Pretty much like 99% of the time, if not like 99.9% of the time, I'm working from home. I'm facilitating my meetings from home. And again, because I specialize in resort properties, they're all quite far away to the point where I'm not required to go do those site visits annually. Just because again they're classified as a remote management situation. So time management's big. Working from home, you need to actually have your own work ethic and make sure you get your job done each day. There is a ton of flexibility when it comes to that. So obviously, don't push the limits when you first start working as a strata manager, but eventually you can realize that, hey, I could probably go golfing in the middle of the afternoon and then work later. I don't actually do that, I promise you. Any of my superiors, well, I don't actually do that, but that is something you could do. I don't like working at night, so that's kind of why I don't do that myself. But if you had an appointment or your kid is sick or something, there's a ton of flexibility with the job because it is remote. So that's a huge part and a huge benefit. But again, the time management needs to be something that you need to have a skill in. Common misconceptions is it's easy. That's just laughable to me. It's certainly not easy. And if you think it's easy, you either don't have a large enough portfolio. You might have a great system and you might have great councils and boards. Mainly, maybe if it's easy, your properties are really done, or you're very experienced. That's the other big thing. It can become easy once you're very experienced. But to begin with, definitely going to be a little bit of a learning curve and gets easier over time for sure. Another misconception is it's just administration work, and that's certainly not the case. Again, you're going to be advising on the Strata Property Act and compliance with the Strata Property Act, and you're going to be facilitating meetings, and there's a lot more than just administration. Emails only, again, obviously not the thing, because you have to do the meetings, develop reports and documents, and communicate with vendors, project administration, all of these things. Another misconception is councils run everything. That's certainly not the case. The councils are very beholden to the Strata Property Act and the Strata bylaws, so they're making the best decision for the owners as a whole whenever they make a decision, or they're at least certainly trying to. That's the whole point. I would say the worst parts for strata manager as a job is dealing with the conflict, although I find it interesting, so depends what kind of person you are. You can certainly be blamed for things, but I find myself very good in that regard too. I always shift the risk, and it's not me making the decision, and I make sure that that's recorded, and then I have that in writing, right? It's hard to blame me if it's clear that it was the council that made the decision. And I even do that for like building notices and thing. If it's something that's going to be controversial, and especially if I don't necessarily agree with the decision made, then I certainly make the council either provide the wording, or I make it obvious that the message is coming from the council or the board. It's not me, and I also, obviously, I'm not throwing the council or boards under the bus at that point, because I'll provide information as to why the decision had to be made, kind of thing. But you can certainly get blamed for things that are just certainly not your problem. Interruptions are bad, like, so you got to be really good at multitasking. And I wouldn't even say multitasking, but just if you get a phone call, obviously you should answer it, because those could be way more urgent than whatever you're doing currently. But you need to be able to save your spot or make sure you're not going to forget what you were doing prior to that phone call or that interruption. And then the other thing that I was talking about earlier is just the after hours. At times, you certainly could have some meetings that are in the evening, sometimes even scheduled to start at 7 p.m. and go till 9. And some of them can go later than that, unfortunately. But that's probably one of the worst parts of the job. But it doesn't happen often, depending on your portfolio. You might have like I don't know, between 3 to 5 council meetings a month, maybe more than that. If you have a portfolio that meets or multiple properties that meet monthly, then you might have anywhere from 3 to 10 meetings a month. but it can certainly be minimized. And again, not having the meetings too late is helpful. So just a day snapshot for me. I'm in the morning, I'm checking my emails, and then a lot of the times I have like reminders for bigger tasks that need to be done on my calendar. So those pop up in the morning, and then I make sure I get those done after I've reviewed my urgent emails and made sure that I've taken care of anything that's a big time deal, like leaks, fires, or whatever kind of problem like that, access, things like that. Midday, I'm working on issues or any new requests that have come through, or I'm still getting through those emails while building notices, agendas, things like that. Afternoon is same kind of thing, but at this point, maybe we're having a council meeting or a board meeting, and again, in the evenings, you're going to have some meetings as well. And then that kind of just repeats. Who I think this would be a good fit for: someone who's calm under pressure, very organized, very direct, and a good communicator. A problem solver, because again, that is essentially the job as a problem solver. And who I don't think it is a good fit for is people that avoid conflict, need predictability as far as what's going to happen that day and what they're going to need to do. And if you're easily overwhelmed, I would not recommend it. And if you are a strict 9 to 5, I mean, I am for the most part, other than meetings, obviously. So it depends how strict you are with that. But it's not just a 9 to 5. There will be meetings in the evenings. But otherwise, I'm very strict 9 to 5. I don't work past 5, but if I have meetings, then obviously I'm going to do that. But I'm not doing my emails after 5 p.m. Not happening. Sorry. So the reality is, it is not easy. There's a high amount of responsibility, and it can be a very valuable career. It certainly sets you up for a lot of other positions, or just someone that's proven that they can handle a remote position and handle a lot of communication, organization, facilitation, compliance, meetings, all that stuff. In closing, go in informed. So if you're considering getting your strata management license, certainly drop a comment if you have any specific questions that weren't answered during this meeting. I might make an episode that kind of goes more into detail of what the strata management licensing process and tests look like. So if that's something that you are interested in, definitely let me know in the comment section so that I can be aware that that's something that I really should make a video on. And understand your reality. So make sure that this is something that you want to do before you go for it. And certainly like and subscribe if you want anything like this or more videos like this. I plan to continue to make episodes on a regular basis. So thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Aaron Green, founder of AG Consulting, also a licensed strata manager, currently operating as a strata manager in BC, Canada. One thing I didn't mention is this is all just general advice, not legal advice. If you need legal advice, contact legal counsel. Thank you and have an excellent day.